They don't. We're back here on the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show. We are spending this entire half hour, I started to say an hour, I'm giving us a whole new show, the half hour on the show, talking about Alzheimer's, how it affects not just an individual, but an entire family. And Alyssa, I want to come back to you because give us an overall, give me some numbers. How widespread is it?
Absolutely.
I think that we tend to have a belief that if it is in your family, there's a greater likelihood that it'll be passed on.
There is, because it is a genetic-based type of thing. You can get genetic testing done to see if you are predispositioned to get or predetermined to get Alzheimer's. That is one test that can be done at the ADRC at Pitt. A lot of people don't want to know, but across the United States, there's 5 million Americans living with Alzheimer's right now. And in Pennsylvania alone, there's 280,000. And when you loop in all those other forms of dementia that I was mentioning earlier, it's closer to 400,000. And that doesn't even take into consideration the over 600,000 caregivers like Dorothy and Sophia and her family right here in Pennsylvania that are taking care of all of their loved ones that are suffering from Alzheimer's.
And I don't know the answer to this. There, so often when we look at illnesses, it disproportionately affects the African American community. Does this fall into that category?
It does, 2/3 more likely. And we can't figure out why necessarily, if it's just, like I said, a genetic thing, a diet thing, a cultural thing. We're not entirely sure, but we do see that it affects the African American community. They are 2/3 more likely to get it, and women in the African American community add another 2/3 on top of that.
Wow. So Dorothy, you took care of your mother at home. Conscious decision, you wanted to keep your mother at home as long as possible.
True.
Which I think is an African American tradition for us, for the most part. We like to keep our loved ones at home. But at the same time, that means that you made a huge sacrifice.
That's true, because her roller coaster was my roller coaster. So when she was up, I was up. When she was down, I was down. And there's many days I cried. There's many days, because it's overwhelming. Because you're taking them to the doctors, you're taking them to the daycare, you're washing them, you're bathing them, you're combing them, you're making sure they eat, cleaning the house. So I let her stay in her house as long as she can. And I had actually moved over there out of my house to stay over there when she started declining more, because you couldn't leave her alone. And she wouldn't keep nobody in the house to help her. So like I said, the recognition of the phase was who she was more comfortable with.
Okay, all right.
So that was Mom.
That was Mom. And Sophia, once again, you were nodding your head. So same thing, you guys, your mom kept your grandmother?
No, so my mother is not the direct caregiver.
Okay.
Two of my aunts, so actually 3 of my aunts have actually stepped up and done that.
So
she was with
so they're
one
siblings.
aunt. Yeah. My mother is one of 7, so there was a lot of helping hands.
Okay, and that makes a difference.
But it does
Yes, it
still
does.
become a burden, and it is tough because you're there all the time. You're giving of a lot of time and energy. So there was one aunt that had her, and it became a lot, and then the other 2 stepped in to help as well. So I commend every caregiver, just being as an outsider coming in to see my grandmother, recognizing that it is tough.
It's hard work. It's hard work. And I'm guessing, you tell me if I'm right about this, I think sometimes then your circle of friends tends to start to back away because they feel like that's all you ever talk about. Have you had that experience?
No, I didn't have that experience.
Okay, all right.
My experience was I talked to them to relieve me.
Okay, all right.
There's a couple say, yeah, I'll come and keep her company, but we tried that.
That didn't work.
Seems just didn't work. And what it is, you actually give your own life and your time and your social life up to actually care, especially if you're the only one, to actually care. And that's what I did. And that's why I said the crying and the emotions, the distress does wear on you. And you think it don't? If you're the only one, it's overwhelming, because dementia is not noticed until like they're already in the 3rd stage of it.
Okay, so at first it seems like little forgetfulness.
Yeah, they call it memory lapse or senile. And once you get them diagnosed, because there is some memory lapse, but you have to actually get them diagnosed to find out if they actually have it.
Okay, all right. And so then, Alyssa, respond to that, because I don't know that most people realize that. I think that, You know, and I think we've all seen some forgetfulness in people, and we just kind of write it off. And it doesn't make a leap from losing your keys to having dementia.
Right. So people always ask me, like, well, I forget where I parked my car in the parking lot. Like, I used the panic button. Does that mean that I have Alzheimer's? And I said, no, just because you forgot where you parked your car, it's when you get into your car and you don't know what to do with it, or why you're there, or how you got there. That's when you have to worry, and that's when it becomes a concern. And our latest facts and figures just came out, and I was talking to Sophia about this yesterday, and one of the most astounding statistics is 82% of people surveyed said they find that their cognitive health is something that is very important to them and they would love to get tested. But only 16% of people get a cognitive assessment test done because they're waiting for their doctor to ask, and their doctor's waiting for them to say, you know, something's not exactly right with me.
Right.
And the hardest thing with dementia and Alzheimer's is once it's diagnosed, it's already been taking its toll on your brain for probably 10 years before that diagnosis.
Okay, 10 years. Interesting. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about rivals and a lot more. We'll also tell you how you can get more information. So stick around. We'll be right back.